Hey aloha, I'm Devin. I'm a surf photographer here in Honolulu, Hawaii, and today I'm going to be talking about 10 pieces of essential gear that I utilize for my surf photography. Let's get into it. So first piece of equipment is my Aquatech Edge housing body. It's got some pros and it's got some cons, so I'll start with the pros. Pros, the back plate. The back plate has a ton of controls. You can really manipulate all the settings in your camera to adjust for changing light and ocean conditions, and it just gives you a lot of flexibility in the water to really make any changes you want while you're out there, which is fantastic. Another one of the pros is the easy access clips that allow you to get the back plate open and put your camera in. So just lift the clips up and you're able to open up the back plate. Super easy, super fast. It makes getting your camera in and out before you go in the water or after just really fast and easy, and I really like the clips. I think they're a really great feature. Another one of the pros is I think it looks cool. Just compared to older models, not only Aquatech, but other camera body housings, I think this looks very sleek and modern and cool. I feel cool when I'm using it. so yeah, I think that's another pro. Okay, getting into the cons now, I just want to say that I think for the cons that they're pretty low cons, they're not very strong, but you can see one of the handles is shorter than the other. Now Aquatech does allow you to buy a new attachment, so you can extend this out, but just when you get it, it makes it a little inconvenient because they make it super tight. You can't even get your fingers through it. So if you are someone like me who likes to swim with their left hand out and their camera behind them in their right hand, it does make it a little challenging to grab the whole handle. But yeah, it is a small little con in my opinion. I understand why they do it. I think they want your trigger finger closer to the shutter button, which makes sense, but it does make it a little inconvenient to hold in my opinion. Another con is the back plate. When the sun starts to hit the back plate, it creates a huge glare on it and you really can't review your footage or see it, or makes it very challenging to see it. Again, I think this is a small con because I think no matter what housing you're gonna get, that's just part of surf photography, that the sun is gonna reflect off your backplate and it's gonna be a little challenging to review your footage. But yeah, a couple little small cons just to be aware of. Next piece of equipment is GoPro. I have the GoPro Hero 10, but really any version of a GoPro. There's 3 advantages I feel that to use a GoPro in conjunction with your mirrorless camera. One, you can shoot video with the GoPro while you shoot still photography with your mirrorless camera in the water housing. Another advantage is that you can utilize different lenses. So I may utilize a 50mm on my Sony and I'll set the GoPro to fisheye or wide angle or super view. It just allows you to get a different perspective on the same exact shot with 2 separate cameras, which is really cool. The third pro, or third advantage in my opinion, of utilizing a GoPro in conjunction with your mirrorless camera is that you can shoot different frame rates. So if I'm filming video that day, I'll put my Sony in 120 frames per second and put the GoPro in 240 frames per second. And of course, using that in conjunction with a different lens setting, it really can create a whole new look and new style of image. It also allows you to capture more of the wave. So I think that's something that people may overlook. If I want to get a little bit further down the wave and get a nice clear shot of the surfer, I'll record with my 50mm lens on it. But as that surfer gets closer and now they're kind of taking up the whole frame of the shot, that's where your GoPro is going to pick up the action with the wide angle and allow you to capture now the action as the surfer gets closer to you. So I think it's a huge advantage. I very rarely will go out without my GoPro. Pro tip, so I like to mount my GoPro right on top of the housing like so, but some people want to be able to shoot vertically. I figured out a little hack. I got one of these little GoPro clamps, and all I do is I clamp it to the side of the handle here and I mount the GoPro on there like that. So I will go out, I'll take stills with my Sony, and I'll get vertical shots with the GoPro to utilize for like social media or whatever, so I don't have to, you know, crop it in and lose half the image and all that comes with post-production. GoPro, highly recommend it for a piece of gear. It's really great and allows you to be more versatile in the water and more creative with your shots as well. Next piece of gear is 50mm prime lens. It's 1.8. When I first started out, I didn't know what to get. I didn't know what kind of lens I should start with, and everybody said nifty 50, you can't go wrong with it. So that's exactly what I did, and I don't regret it in any way, shape, or form. It's been phenomenal. I feel like I get really great images with it. It allows me a good standoff distance from the wave, depending on what kind of waves I'm shooting, and I really highly recommend a prime lens. Also, for a beginner, an advantage of utilizing a prime lens is you don't have to worry about zoom. So just when you're beginning, it's kind of overwhelming with the amount of things that you have to deal with as a surf photographer. You're dealing with being in position, currents, being able to see the surfer with the sun in your eyes, you know, set your composition for your shot, and keeping water off your lens. So to have to eliminate one more factor to worry about, such as zooming in and out, I think that's a real advantage for anybody who's beginning in surf photography. Another advantage, in my opinion, of utilizing a prime lens is it forces you to move around the lineup in order to get different shots and different types of styles of shots. For me, I personally enjoy surf photography because it's exercise and physical. You have to, a lot of physical output in order to stay in there, and I enjoy the exercise and I enjoy the physical challenge that comes with surf photography. So I personally like a prime lens. Forces me to swim around, get more exercise, makes me work for my shots, which makes me feel like I earned them more. So yeah, 50mm prime, highly recommend it. Next piece of gear is what's filming me right now, my 28mm lens. It's a wide angle lens, or a wider angle lens. I wouldn't consider it totally wide angle, but you don't have to get a 28mm. What I'm recommending is a wide angle lens. And it just allows you more versatility with your shots to really change up your photography. There are a lot of times where maybe the wave conditions are forcing me to be closer to the surfers, or I'm filming barrels and I want to get the whole barrel in the shot, or I'm filming shore break where I want to get the whole wave and the sand and everything in the shot, and I'll bring my wide angle lens. Next piece of gear is a flat port. This is what I utilize for all my above surface photography and videography. It's kind of your standard port that goes with most camera housings. It requires a dry port, so meaning that you don't want to have water on top of this while you're taking pictures. Whereas when you utilize a dome port, you want a thin layer of water over the port. Your flat port is really, really important to keep clear of water so that you get the best quality shots. If you stick around to the end, I'll show you a little hack that I use that not a lot of surf photographers do to help keep water off. What's so great about this thing? Nothing really, just kind of your standard port. Bang, just like that, just right on the front. Next piece of gear is the dome port. I use this port for when I'm doing any kind of underwater photography, or when I'm doing those over-under shoots where I'm taking a picture, here's the water line, and I set the dome port about halfway in there, and now I'm capturing what's above the water line as well as what's below. It's very cool. A dome port, you want to use a wet porting technique, which is where you dunk the port in the water, pull it up, and when that happens, the water creates a thin film or a thin layer over the whole entire port, and that water slowly kind of sucks off the dome port. And while that water is creating a perfect layer over, that's when you're taking your pictures. So I'll pretty much use my dome port for, like I said, underwater, over-under, or if I'm shooting really quick action, such as shore break or in the barrel. Also great to utilize with a wide angle lens to just capture really cool wide angle. Next piece of gear is a pistol grip. This is the grip that goes underneath the camera, the housing body. So it's really great. It gives you a lot of stability, right? Because you're able to hold from underneath as well as from the side. So you can get really stable shots utilizing this. I'll utilize the pistol grip when I'm shooting shore break or really quick action where I just want to get a hand in there, just kind of like get the camera up, take some pictures, and then get out of the way before I get hit by the wave or the surfer. It makes some people really prefer this as more comfortable type of shooting as well. So it's kind of just comfort and kind of preference as well. If I'm shooting really fast action, I'll utilize my pistol grip every time. But for the most part, if I'm in a safe place where there's a channel or I'm just filming longboarding or something like that, I'll usually go without the pistol grip. It's just kind of another thing in the way, in my opinion. Just like there is a shutter button on the front of the camera housing, there is one underneath, which when you attach it, the pistol grip fires that shutter. So it works from underneath as well as up here or here. Both ways you can take pictures. Next piece of gear is a polarizing filter. This is the Hoya NXT Plus polarizing filter. It's fantastic. The sun creates reflections on the water, and a polarizing filter works the same as polarized sunglasses. It helps reduce that glare on the water. It gets you a clearer, better image, and in my opinion, it makes the colors more enhanced. So yeah, polarizing filter is super fantastic tool and a great way to just enhance your photos straight out of the camera. I mean, that's how personally I like to do it. I don't really like to edit a lot if I don't have to. So the better it comes out of the camera, the happier I am. And a polarizing filter, in my experience, has really helped out with that a lot. Next up, we've got your protection pieces. I kind of lumped it all into one, but you have these rubber protection pieces that go over the lens of your ports. So you want to make sure that your lens is clear of debris, as well as your protection piece, I'm calling it. And then you just go ahead and press it over the top, and that protects the lens. And then there's also one for the back to help keep out any kind of debris or dust or anything like that. And it's also kind of like fall protection as well, right? It kind of protects your gear. This is how I'll store my ports when I'm not utilizing them. There's also a soft shell for the dome port, which I highly recommend because you can't protect it otherwise. And of course, another protection piece for the back. Boom, just like so. And this soft thing is fantastic. Just goes right around the whole rim of the dome port, and it's really easy to use and a really fantastic way to protect your equipment. What I typically do is just utilize my flat port or dome port, whichever one I happen to use last. Of course, when you're done utilizing all your gear, you wash it, you let it dry, you get all the salt out of everything, and then I will just attach my flat port. Oop, there we go. Attach my flat port with the protection piece on the front, and that's how I will store the camera, so I don't have to worry about anything. That's just how I store my gear, and I highly recommend these pieces to keep your gear lasting for a long time. Next piece of gear is your leash. The last thing you want to do as a beginner is lose your camera gear. The way this works is you just take it, I wrap it around the handles on the side, just pull it through itself, and then you just have a little Velcro bracelet here, and just put that around your wrist. Now, you can't lose your camera, it's attached to you, you're attached to the camera. If you're someone who is gonna graduate to bigger waves or big barreling surf, I never go out without this. I've definitely had my camera ripped out of my hands plenty of times, so super valuable piece of gear. Okay, final piece of gear that I wanted to reveal at the end is a squeegee. Not a lot of surf photographers or think about this or use it, or I don't know why. It's such a valuable piece of gear, at least in my opinion. You know, you're out and you're shooting and maybe it's windy and the wind keeps spraying just little tiny droplets on your lens and it's messing up your shots. I'll take my squeegee and I'll squeegee it all off and you're good to go. What I did with my squeegee, was I drilled a hole through it and I tied a little rope through that hole with a knot at the end and then attached a surf fin leash. So this would actually go to like a pair of surf fins for body surfing or something. And then all I do is take this little Velcro guy, wrap it around the handle on the other side, and boom, you're good to go, right? So it's always attached, you're not gonna lose it. Come up, squeegee the water right off, get back in the action. There is some cons to this. It does make another little element that you have to hold on to, like when I'm swimming or whatever, I'll have to, you know, press the squeegee up into the handle like so and kind of swim with it like that. But it saves a lot of shots. So there's a lot of times where the water just isn't coming off the lens or just whatever happens. Like I said, the wind is spraying little particles of water onto your lens and ruining your shot. So I'll take the squeegee and I'll take it all off. And it's fantastic. Super great piece of gear that I highly recommend. I'll never go out without it with my flat port. So yeah, highly recommend squeegee, pro tip. Here are the total costs of all the pieces of equipment that I mentioned in this video. The only thing I left out was my camera body. I have a Sony a7 III. It was bought refurbished and it costed me about $1,900. So total cost, $5,223.33. So a little over $5 grand for my setup. If the cost of all of these pieces of equipment is pretty intimidating, which I think it is for anybody getting started or just a beginner in surf photography, the bare essentials that I would recommend are a camera body. It's up to you to choose what kind you would like. 50mm prime lens, Aquatech edge housing, P-65 flat port, a surf leash, protection pieces or port covers. If you liked the video and you learned something or you just thought this was educational or beneficial in any way, like, subscribe. I do surf commentary on videos that I've taken and I kind of put in funny, kind of silly comments about everything. And I'm also gonna start doing more surf photographer equipment and pros and cons and day in the life, things like that. So yeah, subscribe and check out some more surf content from here in Hawaii. Thanks for watching.